Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just back in with another lesson. I'm just going to respond to a question that was worded, very well and respectfully and with good spelling, grammar, and punctuation. So I always appreciate that because, a majority of comments I delete, on my channel. They're not real people and they're not intelligent. And so this one was good. So it's from a name called Jewish Question. And I thought this could, again, I'll bring out a couple more verses. And a lot of what I say, I've said somewhere, in one of my videos, but it doesn't hurt to revisit these topics, look at it from a slightly different angle. And, just reiterate, things that I teach to a new subscriber. Hi, just discovered your channel literally last week, and I've been watching your sequence videos, plus ones about the elect, and I wanted to ask you about Revelation 14, 3-5, because in some other videos of yours, you seem to be less certain about being part of the elect and cited the fact that those who wish to live on earth need to lie as a prerequisite to survive and are therefore not going to be a part of that group. So that's true, and this is a unique thing about that group, and why I have at least certain characteristics of them is that if I was told the things that I know now, even just the flat stationary earth, at a young age, I would not have lived until this time. I know that for a fact. I just know it, just my personality. I wouldn't just pretend to not know what I know, like the obvious fact that the earth doesn't move and then be forced to regurgitate ball earth stuff in school, or even if it wasn't even required of me in school, but even just in social circles or in my family, they didn't let me live as if I knew that the earth was flat stationary, then I wouldn't have made it here. Okay. And so a lot of other people are okay with that, and then that's why I say that those people are actors, because they don't take that truth and then find the next truth and then the next truth and then the next truth. And so the biggest next truth beyond that we know now that I teach is that this is hell. And so because that explains why the earth was taught to be a ball, for a period of time. And so, and then all the other things, all the other evils that are happening now. So the elect are a group that respond to what the Bible says. It's a very key difference, okay? You can know that, the earth is flat. You can know that this earth is hell. You can know that the elect have no guile in their mouth, like he's quoting in Revelation 14, 3-5. But certain people, a small group, and the Bible numbers them, react to that, to what the Bible says. And so if there's a group out there that God says is the first fruits is Christ. The first fruits are the 144,000. And so if there's a group in the Bible that, how everybody has their celebrities, I look up to this person or whatever and all that, that's my role model, whatever. I look up to the elect, as they're described in the Bible, because that's characteristics that we have a chance, of living that way, Christ's love and all that and his power is not human, and so it's for him, and then we can strive to be like him, and then he ultimately will make his elect like him. That's what the Bible says, that he will put his law on their hearts and their inward parts and that kind of thing. But here on this side, the elect are a group that we have a chance to model, their behavior. We're not supposed to have guile in our mouth, okay? And that's, what it says there. And then I've done a full lesson on where I've read all the verses about the elect. And you can do another search and look for the chosen and, that kind of stuff. Okay. So it's that group that, are referenced when they say that, when the Bible mentions that. And so it's more attainable is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So let's read Revelation 14. And again, these verses, the verse in particular, Revelation 14:4, is not there, by coincidence, okay? The Bible is structured flawlessly. Revelation 14, 3-5, and they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. So salvation is designed for this group. That doesn't mean that only they're taken away, but it's for them, okay? The end times are cut short for the elect's sake. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. So if you're just use a golf example because I'm a golfer. If you're an incredible golfer Would you go and follow around another golfer who's as good as you? No, or worse. Okay, you would never do that. You'd be like, why? You know golf better than that person. You would always, literally always, if you let's just say golf was like the thing you're obsessed about, you would only want to be around somebody who's better than you, not just better than you, but way better than you. Okay, that's an example of this. Okay, Revelation 14:4. This is a group that understands they're the most sinful, and then they want to follow around the person who's the least sinful or not sinful at all, like Christ. Okay, so physically on this earth, Christ is not here, in a bodily form. Okay, we know that now as a fact. Okay, and the whole structure is antichrist. So we look up because that's where Christ is going to appear. Okay, this group, I want people to understand this Bible's literal. Okay, this group, we will not even be hard to find them. If Christ was, there's a news bulletin that came out. Christ was spotted in wherever, in Australia. Christ was spotted in Sri Lanka preaching. You'll know who this group is right away because they're gonna just walk out of their house. On the way out, they're gonna grab their phone. They're gonna book the ticket while they're walking, and they won't even look at their parents, their kids, or their wife, or anything. They're out. Okay, that's this group. Okay, because they're looking for the most extreme difference between them and that's what they want. And so the only way to find that is with Christ. Okay, Christ says that the people that need him, they have to be sick. Okay, if you're healed and you're healthy and you're whatever, and you don't need God, you have riches and wealth. And I'll bring out a verse that reminds us of that in Revelation 3. What's the purpose of following him wherever he goes? You don't really need God. You got your own, set up here. You got a business. You got, your hobbies and all that. So that's what this group is all about. They're the most sick, okay? And then they're chasing after their healer, okay? And so just know that. So that's that group. You're going to find them, and then in Christ's time, you'll know it's all the people that were around him, all the men. And then they would, Christ is teaching there. Okay, we're going to go, and all that kind of stuff. You know how here you have these like girls who follow around Bieber or whatever. Oh, Bieber's got a concert, or Beyonce's Beehive or whatever. Okay, this is Christ's hive, so to speak. Okay, anybody who says anything disrespectful against him, they'll go crazy. I remember literally I was talking, this is like insane, years ago, like it was like a New Year's party, and like somebody was like speaking ill of like Beyonce, and like one girl just went insane, because like I live here in Houston, and like she has a huge following here, and like the girl just went crazy, like like don't say anything negative against Beyonce and all that. That's this group multiplied by 1,000,000. Okay, and so that kind of thing. That's why anybody that comes here and tries to speak ill of God, I'm on them. Okay, that's our job. Okay, quote unquote job. That's what we do. And so that's that group. Okay, and in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. So Christ says, is another verse, when he talks to his disciples, that them being there was not of their righteousness, and I've done a lesson on this recently, because many people more righteous than them wanted to see what they are seeing, when he was taken away, and then be with him, physically when he was here in his ministry, and hear the things that he's saying. So he said, many righteous people have existed, but you're the lucky ones, okay? Because you've seen Christ and been a part of his ministry and spreading the gospel in that time, and then you're going to see the reciprocal event when he returns, okay? They were chosen, okay? They didn't do anything to get that, so to speak. Okay, so that's why they're called the chosen, because they're literally chosen. And so just know that's why this group is unique. Okay, like they react to what the Bible says, and not many people do that. I've noticed that. Just they don't. They'll understand it and they'll appreciate some aspect of it, but they won't then orient their life to align with that, and that kind of thing. And then this group is going to know the Bible the best. They're going to, because they've walked with Christ during the time that he was on earth, and then now our souls would be back here. And so we have the quote unquote secrets, and all that kind of stuff. And then that's why I put myself as a candidate for that, because no one can teach me anything about the Bible. I find everybody else teaching the Bible, not just, they're evil, and so much less being able to teach me anything, okay? And they're not intelligent, people, and they don't care about other people. And so there are many, many dings with everybody that I see teaching the Bible. So that makes me unique in that sense, okay? I know the Bible well because of what God told me. I find that pattern in almost every single book and multiple times, and that kind of thing. And so, and I care about people, and I don't want people to be enslaved and have to say stupid things and trust this and all this nonsense. Okay, so those elements are there, with me, and I do not have guile in my mouth, when it comes to the Bible at all. Okay, everything that I teach is a fact, that I've experienced, and that's it, and that's what it is, and that will never change, in the little bit of time that I have left. So, those aspects fit. And so this group is attainable. So I want people to know, even if I'm not in that group, I'm going to model my behavior after what's written, there in Revelation and everywhere, What's God going to do? Oh, you tried to model the elect's behavior, who are like earthly, quote unquote, earthly example of Christ, who's a son of God. Oh, you tried to model their behavior, and then, represent, that, and then, teach the Bible with no guile. Like, God's going to get mad at me for doing that. Are you kidding me? And urgently wanting to be with him, and then not going into the system more to make more of these tokens, just to dishonor him. And then because I'd rather be with him, God's going to get mad at me. Okay. So that's why I'm quote unquote sitting pretty, there's no conflict of interest at all. And then only a person like that can have a chance to receive something from the Bible, because the God of it, because then, we'll just distribute it with a pure heart, and so what I teach on my channel is the purest thing that I'm capable of. I've committed a lot of sins in my life and still do, but this is the best representation, of like me wanting sincerely what I teach to be true and then to come true, so to speak, in the sky. And so just know that. Okay, so so yeah, they're a group that has no guile, and so that's a big aspect of why the end times is cut short for their sake, because understand the Bible, Christ says that God is trying to deceive them. Okay, but if it were so possible, and so it's not possible, because my channel proves it in those sequence videos and everything. And then now we know that the mark of the beast is that. And so this group is, if it were so possible, that they were going to be deceived. So when they're now not deceived, what are they going to do? Try and hang around here longer? Okay, this is why when people come by here and say that Christ will return in 10 or 15 years or whatever, I know they're not of the elect, because the elect would never say that. Because the deceptions are being undone by at least my channel and other people out throughout the world. And then what are they going to do? Oh, now you've come out of a system, you've made it through this maze, basically. And then, what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to go back in. I'll go back in for 10 more years. Are you kidding me? Those people are Satanists that come by my channel and then talk like that. They're just trolls. But the elect don't talk like that, because they're now free. Christ says the truth will set you free. The only true free people on this earth are the elect. Okay. And so just know that. And then so in many ways I have no choice but to double down and say that I'm in them, because I am free, because I'm not limited to talk about certain things. And then I believe I have the truth of the Bible. I see things in the Bible that no man has taught me, and I didn't teach myself. Okay. And so, that's, just know that. Okay. They're not making long-term plans here, because the whole system, their family, their education system, the government, everybody's been deceiving them all the time. Even their own flesh, their own body is like deceiving them. And so they don't want any of that, okay, for not even a day longer, okay, because they know God exists, because, God is, now we know that he's the one that's trying to deceive us. So he's obviously exists, okay, and he's very actively trying to deceive. And so he's the one that sets up the false prophets, and I've done a lesson on that recently. And so we know that now, okay, because the lies are so ridiculous now. And he's making them ridiculous, not for the elect's sake, he's making them ridiculous for the people surrounding the elect, so they figure it out, okay, because it's not just them who are saved. Okay, do you now believe verses 3, 4, and 5, which tell the 144 elect will be virgin men who never tell lies, or talking about being unblemished in the sense of never having sinned by laying with a woman, or lying, or in the sense of being cleansed by the blood of Christ? So the elect are definitely the disciples, and Ezra, Daniel, and all that. The only two that I know that they're not is Moses and Elijah, because they're even above them, okay? And then so that's when the disciples were arguing, oh, can I be on your left and right hand in the kingdom and all that? Christ is like, those were already prepared, and they're already prepared for those two, the two witnesses. And so the elect are all those disciples and all that. So they've had families, and like they've been with a woman and all that. And so in the last days, I highly doubt they can be actual virgins, because again, God's trying to deceive them. So there was a time where they were deceived. They were in this quote unquote world and like going to getting a degree and possibly even teaching the ball earth, and like all, who knows, like they've been a part of this evil system, and then there was a time where I was part of this evil system even after, being sealed potentially, that I thought that the mark of the beast was still that, until now we see what it truly is. God revealed the numerology and then told me to go look up the words Dexios and hand in Revelation 14, and then I know what it is now. It's that, okay? And so it's not that they're always going to have the truth 100% of the time throughout their whole life. It's just that guile is like, they're not going to be deceptive, Their heart is always going to be in the right place, okay? So that's the key. And so, 1 Corinthians 13, 9-12, for we know in part and we prophesy in part. That's not going to change. These are humble people. These are the actual Israelites. But when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. That's Christ. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. Okay, for now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as been fully known. That's in verse 12. Okay, verse 6:6. Okay, so when we see face to face, when Christ returns, all eyes will see him. And so even Christ, in a sense, was prophesying partially, because he didn't know the timing, the day of his own return. Okay, so only the Most High knows that. So all the Israelites are humble people. Okay, they're not liars. There's no deception here. He's saying, Paul would never walk around and say, I have 100% truth, like GMS and all these retards talk about. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. Because you can't prophesy fully unless you know fully. And the only person that knows fully is the Most High. Okay, so we don't know the Most High exists. Okay, we don't know that until he follows through with what he says. And then we haven't seen that yet, like it says here, but then face to face. Okay, so we have an excitement, and a faith and anticipation for these words to come true, but we don't know that they're true, okay, because we know in part. Okay, so that's the thing. So I can't say that I am one of the elect, because I don't even know if the Bible's true from beginning to end. Okay, so that kind of thing. But I do know for a fact that Revelation 14:4 resonates with me, that these are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. Okay, and so I was in a bit of a pickle now, because I'm teaching publicly, and then the Bible started making sense to me on a deeper level after January 1st 2020. And then so now I have a choice to make, and then over time I started realizing more as I went through the Bible looking for that sequence, that the Bible, especially of the elect, it says that the elect have obtained it and the rest were blinded. Okay, and so I now have a choice to make, like either I'm in the group that's blinded or I say I'm the elect. And the Bible also says that the deceived and the deceiver are his. So I have to decide, am I a deceiver or am I being deceived, or am I out of that group? There's only 3 options. Okay, and so I basically had no choice but to start answering my questions and teaching as if I'm one. And then this verse also supports that, Revelation 3:15-17. I know your works, you are neither cold nor hot. Would that you were either cold or hot. So because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. That's in verse 16, referencing the plagues in Revelation 16. For you say, I am rich, I have prospered, and I need nothing, not realizing that you are wretched, pitiable, poor, blind, and naked. Okay, so that's a group that will not follow Christ wherever he goes, because they're rich and have prospered. They don't need anything. The elect need everything from God, so they follow him everywhere. Okay, we now need God in the times that we live in now, and so but we also realize that we're in hell, so we have to look up every day, which is what I do. And so I had a choice here: do I either be cold or hot? Okay, or do I, and then that kind of thing. So Christ is like, he'd rather you just say no, I don't, back out, delete all the videos, and just become an observer and be quote cold, or be hot, so to speak. Okay, don't stand in the middle. That's what Christ is saying here to this church. Okay, and then that's the spirit of the whole Bible. You either are you for him or against him. That's what Christ says explicitly from his mouth, that you're either for him or against him. You're either in the beast system or out of it, on God's right hand side. And so there's only 2 options. And so all these verses essentially led me to have to sort of alter my language. I didn't know what was happening when I was told that information on January 1st, 2020. It just made sense to me now. Okay, I knew how the gospel was going to be preached. I knew what the wrath was. I knew who was going to be administering the wrath. And over a little bit of time, as we saw this narrative, I started to see exactly what is the mark of the beast, and then the urgency increased even more. Okay, so that's the sort of timeline. So they've definitely sinned. Okay, they're not Christ. Okay, so they've definitely sinned. They're sinners, and then that's why they want to be saved. Because they don't want to sin anymore, because they know more than ever that everybody who sins, pins Christ to the cross again, just spiritually in the last days, because he's not going to hang on the cross again physically. Anytime he appears, when he appears, it's going to be with power and great glory. Okay, so they don't want to sin, anymore. So their body is a form of deception, that they want to be separated from, forever. And so just know that. So. Or all talking about unblemished in the sense of never having sinned by laying with a woman or lying, or in the sense of being cleansed by the blood of Christ. So fundamentally, the sacrifice was for his elect. Okay, so the whole Bible is written for them, even if whether they know it or not. Okay, because everybody's trying to deceive them. Okay, because the deceived and the deceiver are gods, and then there's a third group that are not deceived. So everybody that comes by my channel, you have 3 buckets to jump in, whichever one you want to jump in. I know majority people are, which ones people are, but you only have 3 options. Okay, so you don't have to be undeceived the way I believe that I am, but you have to figure out which group are you in. Okay, and then the only way that you can say you're in a particular group is then you have to know the truth. Okay, you have to be able to explain things that are going on in the world, and then how that relates to the Bible, and not just find it on some random websites and all that kind of stuff. Everything has to be rooted in the Bible. That's why, I'm very protective, of what I teach and what I believe. And I believe it very strongly, because my life is behind it, and then my life after this life is behind it, and banking on it, so to speak, not financially, but spiritually. So just know that, that's why I'm, very picky about what people say, and that kind of thing on my comment board. So, there's not just them, okay? Like there's other people saved, children, women, and all that. Jeremiah 31:8 and other references to women being taken away. So it's not just these men, but this is the group, okay? Like it says, like they're not virgins in the sense that they've not committed, a sexual sin or anything like that. And so that just know that, that's virtually impossible, because, a group of them will be in America, which is the quote whore or prostitute. Okay, so I don't know, unless they've literally locked themselves in their room, for their whole life and never left, and then someone fed them or something, then that's possible maybe, but, their mind could wander. So it's not that, or anything like that. So it's a group, like I said, that are the most sick, they're the most humble, like John the Baptist is most aware of his weakness because he's the closest to Christ. And then Christ is most aware of how dependent he is because he's the closest to the Most High, because the Most High controls everything. And so this group is actually the most humble in the sense that they're most aware of how sinful they are. The rest of the world will be like, nah, I'm okay. I'm better than those people. I'm not that bad or whatever. Like all these other people are evil and all that. No, we know that we're the most disgusting people, the people who are really, really above God. And then that's why we follow Christ around, because he's our only hope, to first of all not be that way, and then, be given something to do in the kingdom, where he's our boss. Okay, this group doesn't report to anybody on earth anymore. That's why they can't be a part of this system, because they can't have a boss. Okay, this world is incredibly effeminate, at best. They're trying to spray stuff into your body, which is disgusting, an effeminate act. And then you also have the corporate world where you get ranked, your score is 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. It's like a dating service, and that's effeminate, to have that kind of a ranking system and all that kind of stuff. So this whole world is effeminate, and then we know what the Bible says that happens to people like that. So this group now reports to God. They report to Christ. They don't want to hear I don't want to hear anything from you or anybody else unless you've gone to God directly and he told you something. And then I'm going to also ask you some questions about your life, and the way you live and all that kind of stuff. And so that's why it's better for a majority of people when they come by my channel just to shut up, because I know for a fact these people don't go to God, and all that kind of stuff. So because even if I don't actually report to God, that's who I'm asking to report to. You know, if like you're applying for a job and you have all these different, requisitions, I'm looking at the one that says manager Christ, and that's it. I don't want any of the other ones, okay, and I'll put all my effort into that one. And if I don't get it, I don't get it. You know, it's just what it is, okay? I got, there's other 144 more qualified men than me, and I'm like, that's great. Because then they're going to be at least as interested in things that I am, you know, at least as fervent about the truth, and then, you know, wanting people to be productive and learning and, you know, free and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, excellent. Then I'm like, well, okay, I'll report to them then. You know, once they're established, that group, then I'll want to work with them. So if they're taken away and I visualize it, then I'm going to like almost literally try and grab onto their legs. Obviously, we can't do that kind of thing, but, you know, that type of thing, okay? But I'm only interested now from this point, and it's been like this for a little while now, you know, involved in the chain of command to Christ, okay? And so that's again why, if I'm one of them, I'm not staying here, because I know that God exists, okay? It's not funny, but like, it's on the order of days, you know? And so I'm not going to report to some other retard here on earth, a bunch of Satanists, you know, and then trying to get me to do this, and like, who knows, like all the things. If time would go on longer, this would be like a joke. That's easy. Of course they would do that. So, but the Bible says that the end times are cut short for the elect's sake. And so it's this 144,000, which are the first fruits that dictate the day that Christ returns. And so they're not the type who are like, oh, no, let me wait for another few more evils. You know, I'll wait for this. And then maybe even I'll wait for the brain chips too, you know, like whatever. That would probably happen 15 years from now or something. Let's say they would just move from this to this to this. And then who knows? They would just like, how much control they would have over their minds, everybody's minds, God's left-hand side, because they just do experiments on one another, basically, and they're trying to get God's right-hand side involved in it. And like me, I'm like, hell no, okay? And a lot of us are like, no. And so that's why, if the Bible's true, Christ is going to return, you know, very, very soon. It's not just because of me. It's because a lot of people see that this thing's completely stupid and it's not slowing down, and that kind of thing. So, you know, that's where I stand, you know, with that. And so the nice thing the amazing position that I'm in is that if I am one of them, then I do have a tremendous amount of power, you know. And then the most powerful people on this earth are the elect, you know. And so I remember I posted a video of KRS-One, and there's a lot of truths in there that I think go over a lot of people's heads. But he said the elite need to be worried about him. This is what he said in the video where he's explaining the Freemasons and Illuminati. You can look up that video that I mirrored. And then he's like, those people need to be afraid of me. Because like he's like, I'm the conspiracy that they need to be afraid of. And then that's true. But he's talking as if he's one of the elect, which is very clear that he's not. This whole world, the Illuminati and all that, they need to be afraid of the elect. And they are afraid of the elect. But they're going to be taken away, so they can only go after the remnant of their seed, like it says in Revelation 12, because God takes them away. Okay? But they're the conspiracy people should be worried about, because now they know that God's behind the conspiracies. Okay? And then once they get tired of being deceived and they're out of it, then God will wrap this up. Okay? Because they have the quote unquote, they have a thermometer that God checks, you know, the way the temperature on the earth is, but they have the switch, you know, one of the 144,000 switches to wrap this thing up, you know. And so they're the most powerful, you know, people, because they will not die, you know. And so if there's literally like a car coming to them in their direction that would kill them if the car touches them, prior to those cars touching, the whole salvation would happen. They would just be taken away. So that's what it's like. Okay, they're not able to harm themselves, and no one else can harm them to the point of their death. And so just know that. Okay, and so and the Bible also says some of them are going to be blind and lame. Okay, and so that could be a result of their own sin, but it could also simply just be a judgment from God, that's where He wants His Spirit sequestered in those bodies, and that's just a judgment for them. Okay, and so there's all these different combinations of righteousness, you know, of that group. And so, you know, it's not one thing in that regard. But that's why I know that there's something unique about what I teach, because everybody else that I see, literally everybody else that I see teaching the Bible, they have a lot of guile, not just a little. And so that's again why it's worth at least, you know, checking this channel out, you know, and then hanging around. Okay, like it's like 5.5 months. People get all anxious. Zoom Truth comes by here, starts whining, and like, like, oh, you're a know-it-all. This is the air, the condescending tone that these people come by here. Why don't you just put your keyboard, your fingers off your keyboard and go read the Bible for 5.5 months, and then come back here, and then when my savings run out, then you can laugh at me and then ask me those questions like the day before I go to the other side. Why don't you wait? Okay, these people are stupid. Okay, they'd rather come here and run their mouth than just go read the Bible, and then I put a timeline on it that's not going to change. I'm not going to go back into the corporate world. It's not changing, and like money's not just going to like fall into my lap, and I'm not taking a dime from anybody else. So you don't have to wait long. Okay, I don't have to wait long to decide to figure out whether I am in this group. Okay, and that's exciting, for me personally. So, and I wouldn't want it any other way, because in general, I don't feel safe here. Even if the Bible wasn't. Even though the Bible did not exist, I wouldn't be making long-term plans here, because it's completely backwards, and atheists know that. Okay, there's probably just people who are LGBTQ plus or whatever, like they know that this world is backwards and it's designed for them. Okay, so it's not like they're just all billionaires, millionaires, just living the good life. Like they're unemployed and like struggling and all that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to sympathize for them, but like just know that. Okay. And then we don't know, even God's chosen could be in those groups that we think are God hates. Okay. We don't know. Okay. God will do things to purposely shame people. Okay. And so we don't know about people who's, they look like they're living like a very, very sinful life, but, God can rescue them. He can. That's the amazing thing, about the God of the Bible. And so just know that, that's amazing. That's how much that he loves, and how mysterious he is. But there are many things that we know, like God's people are not going to be deceptive, and then they're going to be very humble, and that kind of thing. And so people of all different backgrounds and stuff are going to be crying out to him, and they are right now. And then, he's already chosen, who he's going to save. But, it's all God's work, and so just know that. And so, hopefully that answers your question. But that's the position that I'm in, and then I was essentially put into this position not by my doing, but I'm going to be posting more and more sequence videos. I think I'm close to done kind of finding them all, or a lot of them, I'm comfortable. I don't really need to put any more now at this point. I think I have close to 100, but there's more in Ezekiel, of course, and there's a lot that I just pass up because like it's subtle, and then it'll make my channel even more sort of hard to navigate than it already is. So there's more, for sure. And so once I go through this, I'll probably go through the Apocrypha, and then that'll be most of it, and then it's more, again, all this stuff is to ultimately kind of just pass the time, but like it's more and more evidence to me that the Bible is internally consistent. Okay, Ezra is not saying something different than Ezekiel, or Daniel or anything like that. It's all the same, and even in Proverbs, even in Song of Solomon, okay, you find the sequence in there. So everywhere, Genesis, everywhere. And so hopefully that answers your question. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care. Bye.